Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. Drop a like, subscribe, and get ready, because this one's going to twist your stomach into a knot before it even begins. Let's start here. I didn't leave her a note. I didn't even slam the door. I just took my AirPods back, the one she swore she never borrowed, zipped up my bag, and walked out like a ghost in the middle of the afternoon. She thought I was at work. She thought she still had time to keep playing her little games. But she was wrong. They all are, until the silence is louder than your begging. My name's Merton. Yeah, Merton. Go ahead and laugh. She did too at first. Said it sounded like a librarian who'd lost his cat. I used to think it was cute when she joked like that. Now I realize it was just the first red flag I ignored, wrapped in sarcasm. Anyway, the last words I ever heard her say were, "Don't forget to water the plants while I'm gone. And for God's sake, try to be less clingy this week." She was leaving for a girls' trip. Again, her third one this year. This time it was to find peace in the mountains, with 3 women who only seemed to exist in her Instagram captions and blurry boomerangs. I watched her throw her overnight bag into the back of a car I didn't recognize. She didn't kiss me, didn't even look back. She didn't know that while she was booking hot stone massages and posting recycled quotes about feminine energy, I had already filed for a temporary mail hold, transferred my paycheck to a separate account, and cleared everything with the landlord. This wasn't impulsive. This wasn't rage. This was resignation. Quiet, calm, defeated resignation. I wasn't going to wait another weekend pretending that just friends send each other hotel room selfies with hearts drawn on the mirror. I wasn't going to argue with a woman who called me emotionally draining after I cried when my father died. I wasn't going to be the guy who texts, "Are you okay?" to someone who hasn't asked me that in 2 years. So I did the only thing I had left. I left. No drama, no fights, no desperate final words. Just a freshly vacuumed floor, a cleared-out dresser, and an open closet that screamed, "You pushed too far this time." By the time she'd be sipping overpriced cocktails, I'd already be 300 miles away, sleeping on a futon in a room I paid for with the last piece of dignity I still had. But don't worry, it only gets messier from here, because 2 days later, she called my mother. And what she told her, "You're not ready for it." 2 days. That's how long it took her to notice I was gone. And even then, she didn't call me. She called my mother. I was in a gas station parking lot somewhere outside Little Rock, eating trail mix and wondering if I'd made a huge mistake, when my phone rang. It was Mom, and her voice sounded like someone had just delivered a casserole full of confusion. "Merton, are you okay?" she asked, like she already assumed I wasn't. "Blythe called. She said you ran off. Said you've been acting paranoid. She's worried about you." I nearly dropped my snack. That woman, the same one who couldn't be bothered to tell me where she was staying during her girls' trip, had the audacity to paint me as unstable. Not missing, not in pain, unstable. I told Mom the truth, or at least a filtered version of it. That I left on purpose. That it wasn't sudden. That I was tired of feeling like a doormat with a paycheck. Mom was quiet for a long time. Then she whispered, "You don't owe her your sanity." That stuck with me, because that's exactly what I'd been giving her, little pieces of myself every time I forgave her without an apology. Every time I let her roll her eyes at me. Every time she came home from one of her weekends glowing like someone else's secret and I said nothing. I blocked Blythe's number after that. I wasn't ready to hear her voice. I wasn't strong enough to listen to her twist the story and make me the villain. And I knew she would. She always did. She had this way of flipping narratives, crying just enough to look hurt, spinning words just enough to make you doubt what you saw with your own eyes. Later that night, I got an email. Just the subject line. "Where are you?" No greeting. No apology. No acknowledgement that maybe, just maybe, I had a reason to go. I didn't open it. Instead, I sat on that creaky futon, in my new, borrowed life, and for the first time in years I didn't feel small. But peace is short-lived when your absence becomes louder than your presence. Because the next thing she did was show up unannounced. And she wasn't alone. I was brushing my teeth when I heard the knock. It wasn't the kind of knock you ignore. It was fast, loud, impatient, like someone trying to break through both the wood and your willpower. I froze. No one knew where I was. Not my coworkers, not even my friends. Only my mother, and she'd promised not to say a word. But I knew, even before I opened the door, that somehow she had found me. I cracked the door open and nearly choked on minty foam. There she was, Blythe, standing in my borrowed hallway in an overpriced coat, hair perfect, eyes wild. And beside her was a man I'd never seen before. Early 30s, smug smile, holding her suitcase like he belonged to her, or she to him. The way his hand lingered on her shoulder made my stomach twist. "Murdy," she said like it was still 2014 and we were in love. "Can we talk?" I didn't answer. I just stared at the man next to her. "Oh, this is Carter," she added, as if that would clear everything up. "He helped me drive." "Right?" I muttered, stepping back without inviting them in. My voice cracked on the word like I hadn't used it in weeks. Carter nodded, completely unfazed, like this was just a pit stop on their cross-state adventure. "I didn't think you'd actually leave," she said. That was her explanation. That was it. I didn't reply. What was I supposed to say? "Thanks for confirming my decision?" Instead, I leaned against the doorframe and asked the one thing I hadn't dared to until now. "Was he the reason?" She blinked. "What?" I pointed at Carter. "Him. Was he the reason for the secret texts? The new passwords? The sudden need for space?" She laughed. Right there in front of me. "Murdy, not everything is about your insecurity." Carter looked away like he was suddenly very interested in the carpet. I slammed the door. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just stood there and waited until the hallway fell silent. Then I locked every bolt like my life depended on it. And I wish I could say that was the last time she came. But the worst was still ahead. Because the next time she returned, she brought paperwork. 3 days after I slammed the door in her face, she showed up again. This time without Carter. Without a suitcase. Just her and a manila envelope tucked under her arm like a birthday card she couldn't wait for me to open. She didn't knock this time. She waited outside my new apartment like a stray cat. Quiet, patient, staring up at my window. I tried to ignore her. Sat at the kitchen table, headphones in, pretending my world wasn't unraveling one unwanted visit at a time. But ignoring Blythe was like trying to sleep through a fire alarm. Eventually, the buzzing under your skin becomes louder than the sirens. I opened the door. "Make it quick." She didn't argue. She walked in like it was still her right. Looked around at the tiny space like she was offended by my downgrade. Then, she pulled the envelope out and slid it across the table with a satisfied little smirk. "What's this?" I asked, not touching it. Her voice was flat. "Legal clarity." I opened it. Divorce papers. Already signed on her end. Filed. Paid for. Neat little tabs marking where I needed to add my signature. Like it was a contract for a gym membership, not the dissection of a decade-long relationship. "You filed?" I said, barely above a whisper. "You left," she replied, as if that explained everything. "You cheated." She flinched for half a second. "You assumed." I picked up the pen that was clipped to the last page. Held it in my hand like it weighed 50 pounds. "So that's it." She shrugged. "You wanted space. I gave you closure." But it wasn't closure. It was erasure. Clean, cold, and clinical. No apologies. No admittance. No reckoning. Just a list of assets she was already halfway through dividing. "I hope Carter was worth it," I said, finally signing the first line. She didn't respond. Just stood there with her arms crossed, watching me carve the final initials of our story into the page like I was approving a refund. Then she left. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't look back. But she did leave something behind, and I didn't notice it until hours later, buried in the bottom of the envelope beneath the final form. And what I found changed everything. I wasn't planning to go through the envelope again. I thought I'd seen everything. Sign here, initial there, here's how we split the couch and the cat we don't even have. But as I was cleaning up the table later that night, mostly out of habit, the envelope crinkled strangely in my hand, like something was still wedged in the bottom. I tilted it and something slid out. A photo. Not a printed one, no. It was a glossy, physical photo, the kind you get from one of those old kiosks at a pharmacy. Not labeled, not folded, just stuck at the bottom like an accident. Or maybe a test. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. It was slightly blurred, taken in low light. A hotel room. 2 wine glasses on a table. A woman's leg, unmistakably hers, propped up on someone else's lap. Not mine. And then the second face came into focus. Carter. I sat down hard in the kitchen chair, like my body suddenly forgot how to hold itself up. My stomach turned. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I wasn't even surprised. What I felt in that exact moment was confirmation. Cold, sharp confirmation of every gut instinct I had swallowed for over a year. She didn't forget the photo. No chance. Blythe was calculated, meticulous. She labeled her spices. She color-coded her planner. That photo was a message. This is what you left behind. This is what I found instead. And just like that, I started laughing. I didn't mean to. It just bubbled out of me like something toxic that had been sitting in my chest too long. She wanted me to react, to beg, to spiral. But all I could do was laugh. I walked outside, still holding the photo, barefoot on cold pavement, and burned it in a rusted coffee can I'd meant to throw away. The flames curled around Carter's stupid grin and her wine-red lipstick, and for a second, it felt like closure. Until my phone buzzed. Unknown number. One text. I told him you'd try to ruin this. I stared at it. Then again at the ashes. She was trying to get ahead of the narrative. But I had something she didn't know I kept. Something she thought I deleted. And now, I was done playing the quiet one. She always underestimated me. That was her first mistake. The second? Thinking I'd quietly burn and fade while she paraded through the wreckage like she won something. But what she didn't know was that I had been documenting her lies long before I ever packed a bag. She thought I'd deleted everything. Texts, photos, voice memos. But I'm not a burner. I'm a folder. I'm a backup drive. I'm the guy who labels things just in case and stashes them twice. And what she really didn't remember was the night she got sloppy. A year before the divorce even became a whisper. She was out with the girls. And I was homesick, scrolling through the backup cloud of our shared iPad because she'd forgotten to log out. What I found that night made my chest cave in. A video. Blurry, short, but unmistakable. Her voice. Her laugh. Her arm around Carter's neck in a hotel mirror. She even whispered his name like it was poetry. I never confronted her. I saved it. Renamed the file something boring, Utilities 2022, and buried it in my private drive. I told myself I didn't want revenge, that I was just keeping proof in case things ever got legal. But now that she was rewriting the ending, framing me as the broken one, the unstable one, the paranoid ex who vanished, I realized something. She handed me the match. All I had to do was light it. I sent one message. Just one. No words. No explanation. No threats. Just the video. To Carter. And yes, I knew what I was doing. 2 hours later, my phone rang. Unknown number again. But I knew exactly who it was before I picked up. I didn't answer. Let it ring. Then another buzz. A message from her this time. What did you do? No punctuation. No smug tone. Just panic. That's when I knew she was spiraling. The cool, controlled Blythe. The woman who could lie with a smile and file for divorce like it was lunch plans. She was cracking. And I hadn't even done the worst thing yet. Because the video? It wasn't the only thing I had. Blythe was always 5 steps ahead until she wasn't. After I sent the video to Carter, the silence was loud. But not for long. She broke it first with that panic text. What did you do? It wasn't angry. It was afraid. And that fear told me everything I needed to know. I didn't respond. Instead, I sat back and watched her world start to shatter. Because that video, it wasn't just a glimpse of her infidelity. It was time-stamped. It was irrefutable. And Carter? Well, he wasn't as ride or die as she thought. Turns out he had a reputation to protect. A girlfriend of his own. A business tied to a clean image. And now, he had a copy of her mess, wrapped in pixels and lies. By the next morning, I'd received an email from an address I didn't recognize. No greeting, no name, just 3 words. This isn't fair. Attached was a PDF. A screenshot of a conversation between her and Carter. She was begging him to stay quiet, claiming I was manipulating old videos, spinning things to look worse than they were. It was damage control, pure, messy, transparent damage control. But it was too late, because I hadn't stopped with Carter. I sent the video and a quiet, detailed message to a select group of people. Her closest friends, her sister, even her old college roommate, the one she used to vent to about emotional transparency. I didn't ask them to pick sides. I didn't trash her name. I just gave them the one thing she'd been hiding for years. The truth. I wanted them to see who they were really defending every time they said, "She's just under pressure," or "You should try harder to meet her needs." For once, I stopped making excuses for her. That afternoon, I got a voicemail from her sister. She sounded shaken. "Mert, I had no idea. She told us something completely different. I'm so sorry. You didn't deserve any of this." I stood in my tiny kitchen, listening to it 3 times. I wanted to feel vindicated, victorious. Instead, I just felt tired. But Blythe wasn't done yet. Because the next morning, I woke up to something I hadn't expected. She was parked outside my apartment. Again. And this time, she was crying. She didn't knock this time. She just sat there in her car, engine off, face streaked with makeup and regret. I watched her from the window for nearly 20 minutes. She kept glancing up at my door, like she expected me to come down, fold into her arms, and pretend none of it happened. But I didn't move. Eventually, she got out, slowly, like her legs didn't want to follow through. She walked to my door and stood there, not knocking, just waiting. I opened it halfway. "I didn't know how bad I hurt you," she said quietly. "I thought you'd get over it. I thought you'd always come back." I didn't say anything. I let the silence hold her accountable. "I ruined everything," she whispered. And for the first time, I believed she meant it, not as an excuse, not for pity, just the plain, unvarnished truth. She looked smaller than I remembered. Like the version of her I fell in love with had been burned down, and this was the ash. "I'm not here to ask for anything," she added. "I just wanted to say sorry, a real one. And you know what? That's all I needed." I didn't scream. I didn't lash out. I didn't ask her why or how many lies she'd told or who else had been involved. I just nodded, said, "Thank you," and gently closed the door. That was the last time I saw her. Since then, I've started over. New apartment, new job, new peace. Real peace, the kind that doesn't require explanation. I don't check my phone in fear. I don't wait for doors to slam. I've learned that closure isn't something you get from other people. Sometimes it's what you give yourself quietly, slowly, one morning at a time. Thanks for listening to my story. You've been watching Reddit Confessions. Now I've got a question for you. What's a moment in history that changed the course of someone's life forever? Personal or global? Drop it in the comments. Let's talk. And if you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or written off, just remember, sometimes the best response is simply walking away.